Hello, race fans. I'm Malcolm Holmes, and welcome to the colorful world of thoroughbred horse racing. In the next 30 minutes, you'll meet people who make horses their livelihood, and like all the industry, work to be part of the winner's circle. Here's Randy Bradshaw, farm manager.
It's very enjoyable to take that horse into the winner's circle and take him back to the barn and know that you've accomplished a great feat because you've had 10 or 12 other trainers in a race. You've out-trained them, and if you were the groom, you've out-rubbed and rubbed harder on that horse than maybe the other grooms did, and you put in a lot of sweat and a lot of hard work. Most people on the backside are very nice people. In the outside world, as we'd call it, because we are a very small community in itself, a lot of people think that there's a lot of bandits and bad guys on the backside. Actually, there's a lot of very nice, hard-working people that work 7 days a week, put in 10, 12 hours a day, sometimes more. And they work hard, they love their animals. I guess you'd have to say if you didn't love the animals, you wouldn't be in the sport, because you do put in a lot of time. You have to be a good loser in this game, because you do lose more than you win, whether you're a bettor, a trainer, or a groom, or whatever. Most of the days, you're going to be a loser more than a winner. So what you want to do when you go to the racetrack is you want to just enjoy it for the day, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the rest of the people, watch people. It's fun to watch other people and how they react in races, and sometimes you can get a kick out of that. If you don't bet a race, just sit around and watch someone.
Number 3 is Spruce Skipper. Second, number 1, Miami Bound. It's a photo finish, so third and fourth. 29, 1 set 45, and 2 left.
I always like Eddie Dillon who say, under any conditions, this man is riding so well at this meeting, he could write a go for him.
The longest of long shots begins each spring, as 50,000 foals are bred, but only one will wear the roses. Leanne Howard, farm manager, shares some thoughts.
So those are two big factors. You want horses that had ability on the racetrack, and you want horses that are fairly well conformed. If they have deformities in their limbs, they have a much less likelihood of making it to the races. It's very expensive to raise one of these horses and train it and get it to the races and then have it break down simply because it was not very well conformed in the first place. So we try to get mares that were very good race mares or decent race mares, or mares that were sisters to good race horses. That's number one. Number two is the good conformation, and then we just match the two. Hope we get superstars. The babies interact with each other. There's peer pressure on them, all sorts of things that, as you watch a child grow up and go through the teen years, the horses all do that in their first 12 months. And this is one of the things that starts out when they're on their mothers out in the pastures running with the others. You find that some mares that are dominant mares in the pasture, they will also have dominant babies. Babies sleep a lot, just like any other babies. They do an awful lot of napping. They get up and run around and play, and then they eat, and then they nap. This baby's still sound asleep, but she is wondering what in the world you're doing. So what are those people doing over there? Well, maybe I'll get something to eat here. Nursing seems to be their security blanket, too. Whenever they get scared, they run right over to Mama and they nurse a little bit. The babies are handled right from the beginning. They foal in the foaling area, and the guys move them into the barn as soon as the mare has foaled and the baby's walked around and nursed.
And now a race from the past. The year is 1957. The favorite is Bold Ruler, and the track is fast.
Here is Churchill Downs, where they've been running the Kentucky Derby since 1875. And here come the fans and the fanciers of hoss flesh, 90,000 of them on a cold, windy day. Cold enough for a hot toddy, but tradition dictates a mint julep. Here, too, is the veteran trainer, Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, and Bold Ruler, 6-5 favorite. Here is Bill Coram, genial Derby host, and Kentucky's Governor Happy Chandler, host for his state. Another perennial Derby personality is Diamond Jim Moran. But now bring on the thoroughbreds. General Duke has been scratched, but stablemate Iron Liege is running. Number 5 is Gallant Man, Willie Shoemaker up. Eddie Arcaro is on Bold Ruler, the favorite. But it's no day for favorites, and there's real drama in the making. All eyes on the starting gate. And here they come, 9 3-year-olds off and away in the 1.25 Mile Classic that's worth $107,000 to the winner. Federal Hill sets the pace with Bold Ruler and Iron Liege close behind. Ben Jones of Calumet Farm sees his Iron Liege close the gap in the backstretch. Willie Hartag, who was to have ridden General Duke, is on board and doing fine. The top of the stretch, Federal Hill has run out of gas. Iron Liege is ahead with Gallant Man closing the gap. Now watch closely, things happen fast. Willie Shoemaker on Gallant Man has victory in his grasp. Slowly he pulls abreast, then ahead of Iron Liege. Just another 16th to go. Then it happens. Shoemaker misjudges the finish line, stands up in the stirrups, and Iron Liege wins by a nose. Closest Derby finish in 24 years. Iron Liege and Willie Hartack reap roses and riches for Calumet Farms.
There comes a time when each horse must show what it can or can't do, both on and off the track. Dreams can come true at the training center.
And then when we feel that they are controllable enough, we take them down to our barn at San Luis Rey Downs, and there they continue their education. They get out on the racetrack with other horses. They learn how to go in a straight line. They learn how to change leads and go around the turns. There's all sorts of things that they need to learn how to do. Traffic training. They learn how to gallop past some horses, and then they learn how to let other horses gallop past them and respond to the rider's instructions. They have to go through all this sort of schooling procedure before you can even think about asking them for any speed. They also need to have enough pounding on their legs on the racetrack so that their legs get stronger. Horses aren't born with naturally strong legs. They get stronger by being stressed a little bit, just like athletes. They go through this exercise program and a training program, and all they're doing is they're strengthening their muscles and strengthening their bones. And we do the same thing with the horses. It's called putting a good foundation on them. So there's more things involved than just the speed. You have to watch the horse's attitude. His attitude in the barn is important. Is he settling in well? Is he enjoying the routine? Or is he fighting everybody all the time? You know, all those are very important factors, and they all interact.
The auction is not for the shy or unprepared. Trainers, vets, riders, owners, and buyers all hope that bloodlines will pay off. Leanne and fellow farm manager Gabor Renner.
After being in the game for so many years, that the only way you can really make money in this game, if you happen to be able to pick a good horse and he becomes your own, and you can have him trained or train him yourself, and if he can win you these stakes, which today are so high that they can make a rich man out of you pretty quickly, especially if he happens to become really a stake one horse, where you can, horses like that you can, subsidize and sell the shares for up to 15 to 20 to 30 to 40 to $50 million. So there's big money in it.
26,000. 25, 5, would get 26,000. Now 27, up at 26, would get 7, would get 27,000. You're out there at 27, 2, 26, 7, up at 26 now, 7, would get 27,000, would get 27,000. 26, 7, up at 26 now, 7, would get 27,000. Are you all through in the colt? Gonna sell them then, 26,000, 7. Tell them to hurry, I know they're talking beat. 26,000, 27,000, up at 26 now, 7, would get 20, would get 27. All done, 26, and stand your weight.
It depends on the bloodlines of the mares. If we have a very well-conformed foal out of a very good, probably a stakes-winning mare by a very good stallion, we direct these toward the sales, because let's face it, we all have to keep our cash flow up, and we've got to have some income. At the sales, we have a pretty good idea of what we feel our horses are worth. If the people that are there as buyers agree with us, or maybe think our horses are worth more than we think they're worth, then they will buy our horses. If they don't think that they're worth as much as we think they're worth, we will retain our horses and we'll run them ourselves.
Going to lead Bald Large down at the Royal Point. Lee is right there. Alongside of that comes Super Keeper. Attend to detail right there in fourth. 3 legs back comes J.D. Love on the inside of her lovely Carolyn. Here's the favorite Royal Prima Donna. 8 legs off the lead. Another 4 back to my Audrey. They get to the half-mile ball. Point Lee leads by half. Super Keeper second. Attend to detail third. Bald Large on the outside. Royal Prima Donna now starts to pick it up down the rail. 5.5 for Farina. Alongside of her lovely Carolyn, and then J.D.'s Love.
At the morning workout, proud champions gallop alongside awkward yearlings who are learning what it takes to reach the winner's circle.
Other things to look for in the morning, mainly the riders, how easily they're restraining the horses and how easily the horse is doing it. Even the novice bettor can look at a horse and say, well, that jockey's pulling against him, or he's riding with the horse and pushing that horse very, very hard to make him go faster. So to see that, you would have to probably be at the track in the morning and watch the workouts, which you can do at Santa Anita, Hollywood Park. They all have places for people to go and watch the workouts. One thing you want to watch for in horses are, when they turn for home, is that they change leads, and they're very strong when they change leads. Some horses accelerate when they do change leads, change over to the right leg turning for home. And when they do this, it's almost like shifting to fourth gear in a car. You've been in third gear around the turn, now we're going to shift to fourth gear. And when the horses don't turn for home and switch leads, then they're still in third gear a lot of times. You can see horses that'll win on their left lead, but they usually get extremely tired at the end of a race. Hopefully you get to know your horse well enough to know what kind of racetracks he likes, what kind of workouts he likes, 4 days before a race, 2 days before a race. They're all different animals and they all like different things. So if you're a good psychologist, even though they don't tell you things, if you can read into the way that they do things and how they feel the next day after workout, you can kind of picture what needs to be done with them, before a race. And hopefully those are the things that'll help you as a trainer. And
Jockey H.K. Wellington joins us with a look at his early racing days.
It's not that incredible of a story, but it was just something that I remembered about this old trainer in Mexico. He was about 80 years old, and his name was George, and he was a pretty decent type of man. And we went over to his barn. I was about 21 years old, and I was still pretty impressionable around the racetrack because I had just started riding. And so we walk over to this man's barn, and he was training about 30 horses, but he had this beat-up old, he was in like a Ford Falcon or something, and it was all dirty and dusty. And my agent asked him about riding a horse in a particular race the following weekend, and he said, well, let me go over and get my book. It's in the car. So we walked over with him, and we get over to the car, and I can't help but think, my God, this man's been training for 40 years, and he has to drive this old car like this. Where's the justice, right?
When racing fans walk into the track, they're bombarded with information. Daily newspapers, tout sheets, programs, and racing forums all sell their best bets, news, and statistics. Handicapper Chuck Ween unfolds the daily racing form.
Here we have the Daily Racing Form, and the East Coast, there's an East Coast edition. There's an edition to every track in the country. Used to be called the Morning Telegraph back in the Damon Runyon days. And the East Coast version has a little bit more information than the West Coast. The East Coasters would say because they think better and they're smarter. West Coasters are more intuitive and just have learned to read recently. So we have in the Racing Form all the statistics you want to know. And usually in the Racing Form there's a page that will explain exactly how to read it. There it is. Now what do we do with all these statistics? I mean, any fool can follow these columns and they tell you exactly what to read. Everything you want to know is there. But what do these statistics mean? Obviously, everybody could read this and come up with the same horse if it were that easy. Well, I use the statistics, but some of them are more important to me than others. In a lot of cases, what does this all mean? To me, I look at it, and I look at it pretty fast, but I'm more interested in is the jockey getting back on him who rode him last time? Has he switched trainers? Has he been claimed? What's the workout pattern? I know this horse is, he runs well if he's not sore, but he's an old horse, and if he's sore, well, he's not working out, means he's pretty sore. But he's dropped down from $20,000 claiming to $12,000. They're dropping him down. They've got to win the purse, so it's the only chance the horse has. So if you think this horse is going to ever win another race, today may be the day. So I don't look at the last race because the last race is exactly how he's not going to run today. I look back 2, 3, 4 races to see whether this horse on his best effort has the ability. And if I see the jockey who rode him when he ran well is back on the horse, then I say, and I see that he's at least being bet a little bit, then, and he's warming up and he looks fit, then that's the time to bet him. So this is, I think you don't just program this into a computer to find out the fastest horse because you're going to end up broke. You have to use this as a place to start because everybody's going to come up with the same horse. That's what the public favorite usually is all about. The public favorite wins 28 to 32% of the races most places, but if you bet the public favorite, you know, if at a good meet you'll break even. So that's not the way to win at the races.
Coming next are 3 track stories told by fan Richard Uribe, horse owner Donna Sherry Hull, and Gabor, who once rode horses in Asia as a jockey.
Every season I come down to Delmar because I live here, and I'll take $1,000 and I'll try to lose them in one day. And sometimes it's hard to lose $1,000 in one day. It's amazing. You put $100 on each race and you miss, you're down $700, and you hit one, you're up $1,100. So sometimes it takes a whole season to lose your $1,000. And other times you lose it in one day.
My father has a beautiful colt, and maybe it's a story about gelding horses too, because that fits right in. He has a beautiful colt. He's a fire dancer colt, and he was racing his first maiden race, never been on the track before, but all of his preliminary times were great. He's a fire dancer, beautiful animal, and the day of the race, he was going off at 2-to-1 odds. Jockey hops on his back, and everything looks good. They get out in the ring, and all of a sudden the jockey's lying on his back, and the odds up in the board are still 2-to-1. People are lining up. They're thinking, boy, this is a great horse. He's got energy. So the jockey gets back and the horse is back again. They lead him around the back end of the track, and they're getting ready to load him in. And all of a sudden, he takes off after one of the other young horses. He tries to mount the horse in the middle of the track. He's playing stallion all of a sudden. Well, people in the stands are horrified. They're laughing, and they can't believe what's going on. Well, the jockey holds on, has his arms around the horse's neck. And this happens twice. He takes off after 2 other horses. So they're really beginning to panic. I mean, here's this young horse, beautiful, 2-to-1 odds. Odds are holding. Everybody thinks, oh, this horse has, got it. Well, betting's closed, so the odds can't change anymore. Everybody's placed their bets. So they finally get this horse into the gate. The horse takes off full speed, looks really good. He's coming around the final turn. All of a sudden, one of the other young horses takes off, goes right over the center railing, and this one follows him right over, jumps the wall, and takes off and ends up in the infield. And all I could remember was all of these people just going crazy in the stands, and my dad and the trainer standing there like this, just shaking their heads, saying, oh my God, it's like Murphy's Law. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Gambling, going to the races day by day in gambling, that is not my cup of tea. If I wanted to be very successful at that, I realize what I would have to do. It can be done that you could make an average, fairly good living of it, if you devote your complete time just as if you would be going to work every day. And to say you would have to go early out to the racetrack, watch the horses, and be a fairly knowledgeable horseman, watch the way they move, watch the way they work, how they do their work, and what they have done previously, what jockeys they're riding, which jockeys would suit them better than others, and sometimes make a bet and sometimes collect. Anyhow, like that, you could make, a living. Not a very good one, but you could get by, as there are many people who do that, who don't do anything else, and they become fairly proficient in it. But that's not my cup of tea. I would never do that.
Posted on the board now is number 3 Dust Commander, the winner, and there is a photograph. The riderless horse that you're looking at now is Holy Land, who apparently unseated his rider in a jam that occurred on the turn. I did not see the jam occur. He was far back in the field at the time. I saw the riderless horse around the turn. Now, there is the rider being put on a stretcher and into an ambulance. So if we can, later in the show, we'll try to find out the condition of the jockey aboard. That was Hector Pilar. We'll now try and take a look at the race for you and a point in which the accident apparently occurred. As I said, it was a big jam of horses, and this is way back, and you'll see number 4, about the 3rd horse on the screen. Now he is tucked right in the middle of the group. You can see the 4 showing and the stripes on the silks. He now goes up on the outside, and there's a horse outside of him in a drive, I believe My Dad George. In fact, I'm certain it is, and there's High Echelon coming on. And you can see Holy Land still up in there, and there he goes down. The rider comes off. Holy Land apparently clipped the heels of the horse in front of him. I could not tell which horse that would be. And once again, here it is. You can see up between horses, Holy Land. And I believe we'll come into the clear a little bit better here as Holy Land falls right there. You can see the rider on his way off as Holy Land apparently clipped heels with George Lewis. That's the way it appears to me, however, that rather with My Dad George. I have the wrong horse. My Dad George was the horse in front of Holy Land.
The paddock is an enchanted place, up close and personal. Horses, trainers, jockeys, and owners going over last-minute details. Only the grandstand parade and the race itself separate one of these horses from the winner's circle. The betting window closes soon.
You go to the races a lot and you see these horses, and one day this horse is jumping up and down and he wins the race, and the next time you come, he's flat-footed in the paddock, he looks dull, his hair doesn't look good, he doesn't seem bright, then that would be a day that you may pass on that horse and want to pick another one. Those can sometimes help your selections, just by the way the horse feels in the paddock. A lot of times you can look for things like horses that are very fractious in the paddock. They act very nervous and excited. Sometimes they'll wash out, which means that they sweat a lot. And sometimes that's a bad thing because they're very nervous, they are excited, and like any athlete, you can't run well when you're very nervous. I have seen horses, and so has anyone that's gone to the racetrack, that does sweat a little bit, that do run good races, but for the most part, I'd say horses that wash out and get very sweaty are horses that are not going to run well. Another thing in the paddock, sometimes you can check out legs if you know anything about legs at all. And again, a novice probably wouldn't be able to do this, but you can look for horses with enlarged ankles or knees that may be a hindrance in running, and very good handicappers do check those things out. One thing you have to look for is in handicapping is the class factor, which to me is the biggest factor, because you can take a horse that even though has run a very fast time, say like for claiming 16,000, and you move him up the ladder to claiming 25,000, time doesn't really mean much. It's the class jump. It's like me playing basketball against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I might score 25 points against guys that are in my own league, but when I play against him, I might score 2, and it's the same with horses. They absolutely know when they're out of their league. They don't perform as well, and very seldom will one jump up and beat a class horse.
Every day around the world, systems and theories are tested on the track and in the stables. Reaching the winner's circle is more than luck. It's a commitment by all parties involved and the willingness to learn something new each day. And now Chuck's rambling discourse on astrology, the Derby, bloodlines, and related horse stories.
Okay, so let's get to a little handicapping story with the astrology. I'm at the Epsom Derby 3 or 4 years ago. The favorite is El Gran Senor. That's Vincent O'Brien, leading trainer in the world, most Derby winners of anybody. El Gran Senor is named after the famous trainer Horatio Luro. He's the trainer of Northern Dancer. And Luro is called the old man, in Spanish, El Gran Senor. So he had the favorite, trained by Vincent O'Brien. And there was another horse trained by Vincent O'Brien's son, and David O'Brien. And that horse was called Secreto. Well, the astrology chart had Saturn coming right up over the horizon at post time. It was just a little bit over. And Saturn means the old man, it means the old ways, the tradition. So that means, hey, old Gran Senor is going to win it. Plus Saturn is the position of the favorite. So El Gran Senor is the favorite, and his name relates to something old and traditional. So why not bet El Gran Senor? One thing drawing back. What is it? And who else is looking? I've got all these charts out there. And there's the Queen up there, there's Fergie, there's Lady Di, there's Prince Charles in the background. We got Onassis' brother-in-law, Stavros Niarchos is a big owner in partnership with Sangster. Sangster being the football pool's bookie from Australia. You have to see that the English and the Irish are pooled their money, and the French, the Continentals, pooling their money to go against the Arabs who came in and bought up all that Northern Dancer Nijinsky stock. In fact, they get some American owners to bid up the horses. They can make those the new Arab money pay 2 and 3 times until 2 and 3 times what the value of the horse would be. And then next couple of years, the Arabs pretended to bid them up, and then these people were going to get caught with the horses. But here we are, Derby Day. We've got El Gran Senor running against 2 or 3 other decent horses in a field of 15 mediocre, and he's 6-5. Secreto 10-1. I'm saying, but this Saturn's coming up over the horizon. Gran Senor's supposed to be the winner. But the planet Pluto, if the post time's 4 minutes late, then Pluto will be up over the horizon. What's up over the horizon rules the race. So I'm saying, if this goes off a little late, usually goes off 2 or 3 minutes late, well, a 50-1 shot throws a shoe in the post parade. Delay. Post time is going to be like 6, 7, 8 minutes after the original post time. I said Pluto's up over the horizon. It's Pluto. Pluto is the planet of secrets and underworld things. Secreto's the Italian word for secret. So I bet an exacta, which is called a straight forecast in England, between Secreto and Gran Senor. And coming the stretch, Gran Senor has a 2-length lead. Secreto comes out of the clouds, and the jockey on old Gran Senor is not really pumping away all the way he should, and in comes Secreto, and is about a length behind with about 30 yards to go, and like a hobby horse, puts his chin all the way to the ground, leaps up, and nails him on the wire, and the Pluto horse, Secreto, won. So much for astrology and charts, you see. You can do it.
Thoroughbred horse racing is industry, sport, and gambling. Everyone wants the same thing, the thrill of the winner's circle.
I believe every day that a trainer sends a horse out, he wants to win. If he doesn't win, then generally you lose horses. People will give them to someone else when they lose constantly, because everybody likes to be a winner. So I honestly believe that people, when they come to the races, are seeing the sport at its best and people really trying to win. And that's the bottom line.